Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello and welcome.
Welcome to the People and Tech podcast.
Right, a special edition from the islands.
The lovely, beautiful Spanish island music.
It is indeed what we are doing and what we have been trying to say once or twice before, but we don't know how well it landed. Is we never had the time to have a long, protracted honeymoon when we were first married, so we decided that we will, from then on, always have a yearly honeymoon installment we're going to pay back to ourselves, and this is this year.
It's just a nice few days away.
Some of them are nice, some of them are horrendous. Let's keep it real.
No, there's nothing like reiterating the life universe and everything.
Well, I don't know if you should quite advertise for that, but we have gone through all kinds of theoretical discussion, anywhere from what the universe stands for to what the workplace needs in its new paradigm, and how to really land change that will make people's lives at work better.
Yeah. So we've got a few ideas coming up. We've got a few other different pieces we want to try. And a new way of thinking about developer performance. We've come on to that one.
Do we not, when we harden those plans a little bit more, and let me tell you, when we do come on to that, all of those will sound Freudian in it. Like, yes, they will. So yes, we have done a lot of thinking. We have looked at data, sobering data, some of which is surprising us in negative ways, some of which is giving us hope. That there are signals from the market in various ways, and we have seen them in the wake of this book coming out. And I suspect this is what we should spend some time talking about today. We wrote a book. Some of us wrote a book, mostly me.
I made a few pretty walk through here.
That's right. And tied down the fort and made sure kids are being fed and shown the appropriate TV show. So the book is called Tech-Led Culture. You guys would have heard about it quite a number of times. There are different bits in it that are interesting for different people, and for the purpose of this podcast, I let Dave come up with a list of things that he thinks would be interesting for techies that I have not double checked. This is news to me.
Mm-hmm.
It could go either way. For all we know, this could very well not record very well. We know we're capable of destroying whole episodes.
Yeah,
so we're thinking of this as an interview format, right?
Yeah.
You just ask me stuff about the book, and I'll say. Just don't ask me intimate details about the book. I don't remember those, as you know.
Right. Which we're not so.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough.
So your third book.
That's right. Thank you.
But how does the book relate to how do they sort of all relate to each other? What parts together? Why? What parts together?
Nice. Thank you. I like that. Okay, so let me go through the titles of these. I don't know the full titles, which is hilarious. Publishers always want to have subtitles. No less because if you're walking through an airport, you're less likely to kind of get what the meaning behind human debt or tech-led culture or people not tech-led. But I tend to not remember the full names of them. So book number one was Emotional Banking. It was practically my parting gift to the fintech industry, where I was just saying, this is all I know, do what you will with it, or ignore it as you always have. But there are forces keeping you from agility, there are forces keeping you from moving fast enough technology-wise to be competitive with technology houses elsewhere. That was circa 2018 or so, and then there was a good few years that I spent trying to kind of go, here's the book, don't ask me anymore, I don't want to discuss it. to kind of extricate myself from that topic because it occurred to me while writing it that human debt is a lot bigger than just as it pertains to the banking industry. And then as I moved away from it and into what is human debt and where are we going with this whole, and let's look at people, let's look at technology, I then stepped into what looks like a combined world of agility and DevOps and technology and HR and product management and performance and human EQ and you name it. And I very quickly worked out that I was in many industries instead of one. So I had left fintech, which was a bizarre Frankenstein type of industry that we had sprung in a good 10 years. And then I ended up in these many other ones, which were indisputably super fragmented and super away from each other and super incapable of like growing on the backs of each other. So very disparate entities, these industries seem to me, the DevOps community, the Agile community, the product community, the data community, the developers community, insane what amount of communities there need to be when what we mean is technology. So when I saw that and I combined that with human debt, that is the essence of what People Not Take My Second Book is about, which is essentially saying we, one, have human debt, which is defined as the equivalent of tech debt, the amount of things that we have left on the table, undone, unsolved, unfixed, in terms of crisis, in terms of needs, in terms of lack of respect in the workplace, in terms of projects that haven't been worked out, in terms of leadership that hasn't quite landed the messages they need to, in terms of all the big mistakes people, those are human debt. And I saw human debt and I thought, it's no wonder we have it. We have monumental costs between it wasn't an epiphany, it was a sad growing realization that as you see lands on us every day and sometimes lands.
So you're not speaking up on it.
It's no wonder we have human debt if we have these big of gaps between HR and business, between tech and business, between HR and the CEO, between it wasn't creeping. It was as usual sobering and sad. I think everyone knows that. I don't think anything I've come up with is the original. I genuinely believe nothing I've ever come up with is original. I'm just a lack of self-preservationist fucker who is willing to just say it like it is.
David feels like this, you know that.
I don't want to go in depth into those. No. But you know now from having been on this journey for long enough that it's a thankless journey. Even when you do well, if you're to equate effort and emotional spend to gain, we will invariably have lost rather than gained.
Right. So you almost had a tax phase for a while. Ways of working, you can't have ways of working without ways of thinking. You wanna expand on that?
Anytime that anyone invites me on a podcast and asks me, and I am your guest today, right? It's the launch of my book. Thank you very much for having me on this podcast. I want to talk about agility and how culture is tech-led and motivated by culture. And now you're being met to a question saying, did you not write several years ago that you cannot have the ways of work without the ways of thinking? And did you not publish that in Forbes? And did that not become a bit of a scandal in the industry? And a good 10, 15,000 people read it and had a comment about it and so on. Then the answer to all of that is yes, it did happen. But hilariously, it also didn't leave a mark. Any mark. Well, not enough of a mark, let's put it that way. Yes, I don't see progress. And this is not the self-serving, I should be able to move mountains. This is the if that was it's a rather more modest. If that was the time where someone like me understood something like that, why wasn't that solved? It's a lot more modest of a proposition, which is why is it still there? And I think a lot of people that are saying I've been saying this 15 years are losing the context of how that makes them old, unimportant, potentially outdated, possibly wrong, clearly unproven right, and and that adds to the fact that they are never part of that perceived cream that rises to the crop of the execs that are listening to these things these days. So that was we are now with my second book called People Before Tech. The importance of psychological safety and teamwork in the digital age.
Mm-hmm.
Good title. Also really good content, let me tell you. It's all about what the hell? Why do we have this gap? Why don't we come together? Why doesn't DevOps hold hands with the human people and make learning part of our DNA in enterprises so we win? So we can be the humans who go back to the caves and retreat from the ridiculous sci-fi scenario we are in today where machines are coming to get us. We can get them back there in a second. But that was my thesis even back then. We won't be able to do this unless we give each other a hand and we close the gap. And ask me if that book made the mark.
Did that book make a mark? Did it make more of a mark or less of a mark?
Yeah, good question. A good question. It's been translated in Japanese and simplified Chinese in tens of thousands of numbers of it, of booklets, so of books. So I have to wonder, did it make a difference? Why would there be thousands of? Do they just get old in a library and no one really wants to read it, or have they read it and have they understood where we're going? Has that resonated differently in different cultures? And I would have to fall back on my sword and say cultural differences do matter when it comes to human rights, which I've always confessed is never the case, because I've always wanted to go to an equivalation state rather than a differentiation state. And with that said, I haven't heard of as much of European students looking at people before tech and the importance of psychological safety and teamwork. And let me tell you, all that book says is don't be stupid. Teams matter most. Don't be ridiculous. Psychological safety is the only lever of change. It's stuff you hear every day and it's super valid. And it holds nuggets of here are 10 ways to do agile. Here are 5 ways to not be a dick with your subordinates. You name it. Ask me how much money I've made off that book in the last few months. Or should I ask you, how much money has your wife made off a book called People Before Tech, the importance of psychological safety and teamwork in the digital age, just by the name of it? How about, what would she have made? A yacht? Nah. Come on, we all know she doesn't make much money off books. So it wouldn't have been a yacht, right? No. It would have been, what about a small Fiat Panda? Would you have been that?
Yeah, sure.
You'd have thought.
Second-hand car.
Yeah. A Fiat Panda. I contribute, fuck's sake, we need to change the world of work and culture. They give me back a Fiat Panda in that book, right? Would make sense. Let me ask you something. Do you know many economies where you can buy a Fiat Panda for under £100? Because if you can't, then I can't afford one. I can't afford it. Because that's what this book has made over the last month. Because the book is shit. Maybe it is. But if it is, then why aren't there more reactions to it to tell me so?
Yeah.
And if the book isn't, so what happened then? Why aren't they reading it? And they're not reading it because we discussed it. They don't read. Who does? Who reads? Who reads? Who reads? They might listen. They won't read. So because of that, I want to do something on my pod that I feel is pathetic. And I would have hated it if I heard it on pod. So I am not upset if all of you listening to this just turn it off and go F this. Because, yes, both this pod and the Secret Society of Human Work Advocates and Human Death Fighters and Preventers, yes, we know it's a long title, have had to listen to this, because I think humanity is coming to a point where nothing is going to give us a common understanding of these things but an Amazon memo. The Amazon memo around the human work we need to keep being culture-led, culture-driven, culture-successful, culture-innovative. And that long document and memo, maybe manifesto, needs to start with all of us shutting up and listening, and then all of us giving our most honest opinion. So I'll be annoying first. The table of contents of Tech-Led Culture is as follows. I am going to read it to you. It's annoying. Get off this podcast. I'm telling you now. But if you listen to it, promise to me that you'll at least listen to the topic. And if any of them makes you go, fuck yeah, that one I need to check out, check it the hell out, because it means you have human that you could overcome. That's all I have. Anyways, the titles are as follows. At first, we attacked what is the new paradigm of the modern workplace. We contend that the modern workplace is a very different beast than the one we've had in the 60s, in the 70s, and the 50s. And in the history of the workplace, we are coming at a time where its composure and its methodology and its intrinsic nature has to change. So we started with the story of the workplace so far, a very modest and popularized type of story. I'm not contending my work on the research has been as thorough as I would have liked or as good as a PhD. It simply tried to kind of set up the stage of where in the hell are we when it comes to knowledge place. And then the second bit was, let's think of this culture, this notion of culture, business culture, right? Not societal culture, because it's important we make the difference. What is business culture? Is it accidental? Is it an effect? Or is it by design? Have we meant it?
No, everyone thinks on about culture. Culture is culture and the other. It's just like, what does that exactly mean for you? No one can seem to know at all.
Funny you should say that, because you can find that out on page 16. As soon as you started this book, there's a whole chapter over there called Defining Culture. And then it goes straight into being honest and saying, is it maybe just a collection of good behavior? Which is my best definition, to be honest with you, giving the punchline away. Or and then go further. Is it accidental or intentional? Can we design? Can we decide that it will be a certain way and then have it grow that way? And then if not, how does human death relate to culture? Do we all have human death? If you do have it and you need to change something, you need something called culture. And believe it or not, culture change probably, it says in this book, culture change is hard, it's page 23, but it's obviously the most minor of understatements ever. Culture change is damn near bloody impossible these days, and I don't want to even go there. But then it says, who is the keeper of culture in an organization? Who is it? I'm asking you now, who's the keeper of culture? I will ask you each of these questions from the book. Chapter... It's flipped, isn't it? Who is the keeper of culture in an organization, in your opinion? Page 25. Who is the keeper of culture in a tech organization? Tell me now. Quick. Short fire. Everyone. Nice one. I think most people would say the HR director. Fucking bullshit. It's not. Or the CEO. Also, it's not. It's all of us. Yes, you're right. Good answer. Good culture versus toxic culture. What's one? What's the other? Can you feel it? Do you think you can feel it? You can feel it. We can all feel it. We can all absolutely feel it. How do you measure good culture? And who does? How many companies measure good culture? Very surprising answers at page 30. What is the human audit method? That's a surprising one. And let's take 2 seconds. if we agree there is human debt, every organization has some ungood happening. He'll mute himself and go get our food while I tell you about this. Did you?
Yeah.
He did. Excellent. So, what do we believe is human debt? What's the audit method? If we believe we have it, we know we are all behind on various topics. We know there are better things we should do in the way of humans at work, and we haven't done them. That there's a lot that needs to be catched on. If we believe that to be the case, well, you heard that, didn't you? If you believe that to be the case, then where do we take this? How do we do it? What's the next to do? And then if you're going to figure out what your to-dos are, you have to start from a place of honesty. You have to go all the way back and figure out what is it that you think is of value. What is it that you think you're trying to build? What is it that you're attempting to get to in your enterprise? Because if you step back and you go, yes, I'll be honest, we have this thing. There's human debt galore over here. I might not want to tell it to my colleagues. I might not know where to catch it from. But if I sit down and I do an audit between all of us, then I know what the real truth is. And I can be honest with my guys. And my guys going to this rock bottom, going to this place of this is our human debt, this is the reality of what we do and do not have, are going to then become an actual team. And when they become a team, when they need the same thing. Hold up a second. And then the book goes at page 31. It talks about something called what is the human debt audit method. And I want to take a second about this. I know it's self-serving, and I know all of the people that are catching to this podcast, they want me to just be real and bash McKinsey, but I also want to be real enough to just be honest about our journey, right? We created a human debt audit method. What it is essentially our way of saying, if you have the intelligence, the emotional intelligence, the courage, the passion, and the resiliency to be the leader you need to be and to be honest about your human debt, then we are here to help you look at it. To look at it, the things to do are, and then the book goes on to actually list the steps. They're detailed enough that you could nail a year strategy off of them.
And how long would you normally an audit to take? Obviously, it depends on the size.
If I look at page 31, you'll see that there are 10 steps that aren't even an audit. They're a human debt healing method. The audit is only the checking out part. It's only the beginning of it, maybe steps 1 to 4. And then everything else is elect the correct constellation of frameworks and software and philosophies to lay out your human work. That's not an audit. That's a test. It's all that's left to do. So, in very short, the blueprint of what to do to eliminate human debt is neither unthinkable to anyone else but us, nor difficult. It is made impossible by the waves of fear in every organization. Anyway, let us continue. And then we go through the organizational crisis, right? We just touched on it a little bit. We have a leadership crisis, we have a mental health crisis, a lack of engagement crisis, and an EQ crisis. And if you're listening to this from the technology sphere, please pick up the book to just look at the definitions of these, because I think they will resonate. When you look at the crisis of leadership, these are leaders that have been trained to be command and control, and they are unfortunately incapable to do the servant leadership, which you might not like the title of it because it annoys some politically correct people, and it might get Jeff Sutherland up in arms enough to extract it from the guidebook, which I find absolutely insane. Sorry for the French, but it is insane. Why do we extract expectations instead of pulling people to them? Anyway, let me get there. But if you see the reason why you need to have better leadership, more empathic leadership, more acute leadership, more um, um, adaptive leadership that knows when to step it up, when to step it down, when to ask you to pull yourself, when to give your flow, those are unquestionable things that I don't know anyone who's understood. I've said this for the last 40 years. It's the most fundamental thing of it all. I don't know any exec who understood the point of human work, psychological safety. Google's Aristotle, performance by having good human relationships and regular self-work and teamwork as well as organizational and societal work, and understood all that and went, don't want to do it. I don't. I want my people to be horribly pained. I want them to be suicidal. I want them to feel it horribly. There's no person that does that. We're all good humans. We're all decent enough of humans. Some of us might be consumed by fear to where we don't know how to help.
Mm-hmm.
Many of us, most of us. I don't know how many of us, but for the most part, we just want to do good, but we don't know. Anyway, back to the book. There's a chapter in there called Redefining Engagement. Is it satisfaction? Is it happiness? Is it thriving? Oh, back to the crisis really quickly for techies listening to us. There's a crisis of leadership like we defined it, but there's also a crisis of engagement. You heard about it a million times. Gallup told you that there's billions of pounds spent every year in lack of engagement. We know this is common sense, but no exec seems to understand it in their sleep. But you also have a crisis of mental health, which has been kind of aggravated by COVID, obviously, and our landing on these more traumatic times. But you also have, lastly, a crisis of EQ, which is probably the biggest crisis. If you fix your crisis of EQ, you're likely to have fixed your crisis of leadership, your crisis of mental health, your crisis of engagement. Because what you need in the workplace is to stop being stupid, to stop pretending, to stop faking. I don't know why I'm sounding bizarre, but we can't be who we promised we would be at work. To quote Tom Allen. Yeah, exactly. They're expecting out of us something that humans should not be able to offer. Humans have lied about their capabilities to offer this intellectual ability only. And let me tell you, if they could, if what they offer the workplace were their most illustrious IQ skills, that is what they have done for the past 50 years.
Yes.
In the next 10 years, that amazing skill of theirs, it will be utterly and absolutely worthless. Because we are coming to a time when your intellectual skill, what you knew, what you brought from school, what you learned from a book, what you is mathematically correct, is fucking worthless. You'll never be better than the machine that can do that same calculation. You'll never be a smarter coder. You'll never outcode the clean code AI that's going to eventually happen. All you can do is out-human them. You can't outcode them. You can't outwrite them. You can't out-translate them. You can't out-resource them. You can't out-employ them. You can out-human machines. Anyway, back to this. Then the book goes into what is the psychology of texting. You'd be surprised to hear, and this is something that you and I want to spend a lot more time on. We've been talking about this in light of kind of Kent Beck having found Alistair Cockburn the other day by saying the science of joy is a thing. And by the community having kind of a little bit woken up to this might be a thing. If we don't agree that the human work is a thing, we'll all be forced back and we'll all be made to write shit we know is no good. So I think people with good moral and I wanna be careful, but people with good professional standards will have taken this time in the technology sphere growth to go, much is changing, a lot is being asked of us that is unnatural, illogical, not needed by the enterprise, and I am not going to do that. I, as a professional, will not put my life through the demands that I feel are illogical, uncomfortable, unprofitable, you know. If these tenants are against what I believe is right, I can't work with you. And the age is coming of people going, we're not a match for each other. You're not doing me a favor giving me a job. I am doing you a favor coming in with my humanity to it, because you already have all of your machines. If you want my humanity, you appreciate my humanity. Right, so part two of this book is called Making the New Ways of Working Work. I know you're in this podcast. And this one starts with agility and the new ways to run a team. Because those of us that are listening to this don't need to be told what is agile, what is agility, what are agile teams, what is agile management, but the vast majority of humanity does. They don't know. They can't tell what the difference is. They don't understand that the non-sequential, non-linear thinking that agility and the ever experimenting, open for failure and vulnerability that agile demands is either a DNA level or nowhere at all. So that's why this chapter is here. Then there's a chapter called On Belonging, Diversity and Inclusion, because we can't go around, skate around the topic of D&I. But this is attacking D&I from different perspectives. Instead of just D&I in general, should we all be diverse and inclusive? This goes into, yes, let's separate into what the bits are. What's D&I and psychological safety? How psychologically safe should people be to feel included and diverse and heard? Analyze that. And then what's D&I and belonging? Very trendy term. What's D&I and thriving or happy employees? And then I spent some time talking about D&I and neurodivergence, where you know that it's a topic newly close to my heart that I would like to spend a lot more time on in the future for various reasons. And then the second part of the book is dealing entirely with remote flexibility, office-based versus anywhere-based versus understanding outcomes versus understanding performance versus comprehending that stress and burnout and level of effort versus flow versus they're all connected in such intrinsic ways we can't think of them separately. Then it's discussing all of these new things that have come in after COVID in the way of types of knowledge work, burnout, the way that the work-life balance and the Amazon notion of there is no work-life balance. Bezos is often saying there shouldn't be a delimitation. There should just be what feeds your soul and what feeds your being as a human being and what you find sustainable and acceptable, right? It should not be what's work and what's personal. That's one of the philosophies I subscribe to, but not everyone has to. And then there's a lot of discussion on breaks and time off versus non-linear work and for satisfying work, because I think that's where the key is. Then we're discussing the 4-day week, which we in the UK has, and in New Zealand, if I remember correctly, has seemed to have been an experiment and has absolutely landed it. And then we spent quite some time on the bits that matter, I would say, which is what's servant leadership, how in the hell do you do this checking of your human debt, and what will make the biggest change, which is lead with purpose, start with, not lead with. Everyone heard this. It's a shitty kind of lead with purpose, lead with flow, paid the impact. Means nothing. So what we mean is, if you want to start somewhere that people go, fuck, this makes a difference. I'm feeling some magic here. I'm getting there. I'm caring about the shit again. Start with purpose. Start with passion. Start with flow. Start with the shit that makes people go, this feels good. I'm worthwhile. I'm a professional that brought something. Life is not bad. Keep your developers up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. Dave is hesitant to give you the big point of our finale. But before then, I'll just wrap up and say the book goes in to say you can change behavior to increase EQ. It's that simple. Change the behavior of your team, change the behavior of your people, change the behavior of your modern leader. Teach them slightly, easily, calmly what's an emotion, how to tackle it, things they've never been taught before, how to human, how to be a new inspirational or non inspirational, just a genuine human being, right? Teach them that, how to do that fearlessly. And you're good. You already have inspirational leadership, right? So a lot of this is about feedback loops, changing behavior. How do we do the human work? How does it become a habit? What's empathy? How do you overcome resistance and entrenched attitude? Spoiler, most of this book should have been about that. And then how do you nail flexibility? How do you nail this new paradigm of work where let everyone be their best self so they can put it together and make the flowy, spivey, performancey thing that others were so pleased to see in effective teams. It starts with psychological safety. It might go through altered state if you listen to the latest research, but it definitely ends up where these teams are performing in a way that consistently churns out agile instances of their technological dreams. And
wow. Big statement.
One would hope. How many minutes of this has it been? It's been in a trance. A little bit, yeah, in the flow, yeah. It's been fun.
As a developer, when you've been in the flow state of...
I can't thank you anymore.
Morning, it's 1 o'clock.
What time is it? What time is it? Where are we? This is a book. And the reason we rate you all this, genuinely, is because you don't have the time to read all of it. But if you have the £19 or whatever the blip costs to buy it and wrap it up and put it in your back pocket, and from time to time go to the chapter that will show your exact what, then do me only one favor, please, if you've never done me any. Leave a review, even if it's bad, even if you think it's shit, even in particular if you think it's shit, if you think this is wrong, technology will not change us. We won't need to do anything. There's not going to be pair programming, no TDD, no special humanity happening because you're wrong, lady. Leave it and then tell us. And if you tell Dave or you tell me that you've left a review, we will give you a link to all of the resources we've ever seen. Everything we've ever done. More of the crap you hated. The article, the videos, just take them all and disagree to your heart's content. Make yourself a Google box out of how shit I am. Why don't you? But let's debate it. Let's go there. Let's all be honest. There's way too much fakery, insanity, and unlovingness in the world. And this crap is going to give you a couple of ways to get further along as a human death fighter or a human death preventer. And we can't ask for anything more. Oh, no, I lie. We can ask for more. Go buy the software. Go at least download the free shit we've given you. Because let me tell you, when you hear this, there's going to be some reference or other to an article that we both wrote as to how many people wanted to have the free shit we've been giving out for the last few weeks.
Surprising number.
Come check us out to find out what that number is. But so far, thank you for listening to me, not us. Poor thing has been sat there looking at me.
Even part of the user.
Admiringly, which I have to be very, very grateful he has done. You know, we did tell everyone that they can come to this podcast to hear how you've become a human that fighter instead of a techie, and they heard none of that. So maybe they should come into the next episode. We promise there they will bear his soul as to how difficult it's been. Hopefully you take something out of that. And meanwhile, buy the book, leave a review so you get this free membership, and come talk to us. There's loads you can do, and we don't hope for anyone but the ones listening for this. Bye.
Bye.